Ladies and gentlemen, good evening again. I just want to continue to let you know about the FBI's ways of defaming people. This one I'm going to talk about happens at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. That's a military Air Force base. As they say, it's the base of Air Force One, the President's plane. It's been since 2019 I had put an application for base housing, which is available to me as a veteran and as a civil service retiree with the Army. And apparently the FBI's been there before me to defame me because I have never had a chance, no matter how many applications I've placed in the housing area, which are privatized housing. I was never able to get one. Nonetheless, the commanders that were there before that left in June of this past year during the command change did allow me at times to sleep in my car because they saw the disadvantage that I've been going through, the injustice I've been suffering at the hands of the FBI. Well, on August 15, the night of August 15 through the morning of August 16, the FBI tortured me uncontrollably. That morning I woke up after sleeping in my car. I notified the security police on the base about the situation because they're aware of the situation and has always been there to assist me, to make sure I'm okay. They always are ready to help, always. But apparently after the commander left, the ones that would keep an eye on me and protect me, because I was on their premises and they knew they protected everyone that was on Joint Base, not me, but everyone. But when they left, there was a change of command, and that other commander apparently wasn't aware of the situation, so the FBI took advantage of that with the help of the OSI, which is a military organization. And what they did on that morning, I did call out to the security police for help because I was going in and out of consciousness because of the torturing. They sent one of their officers over with his partner. The officer was Sergeant James. He came over with his partner, and I made a statement of what happened, which is the normal procedure. And Sergeant James sat in his car the whole time, and the other gentleman was there to make sure I was okay. He parked next to me, and we did what had to be done. Soon after, this man showed up all dressed up, looking in his nice shirt and tie, and along with a lady from the OSI office. And he came up to me while I was sitting in the officer's car and was asking me questions, things like, did you know Air Force One was here? And I said no, because I don't follow the schedule of Air Force One. I have no reason to do that. And then he says, are you hearing voices? He by the way, he did introduce himself as CIA, and I didn't know why CIA was here because I'm going through this. But anyway, he went on to ask me if I'm hearing voices, and those type of question you ask when somebody think you're crazy. And I said, no, I'm only hearing your voice. And he just slightly just said, oh, by the way, I need to have you sign some document. And I said, I don't know you. I'm not going to sign in a document for you. And the reason I do that is because I know that the FBI has tried 3 times before for me to sign document, and the document they want me to sign is to turn myself into them, into their custody. I have no reason to do that because I have not committed any crime. The FBI can't even arrest me for spitting on the street because you won't find me do that. So when he said sign document, I told him right off, I don't know who you are, and I'm certainly not going to sign in a document for you. Well, after that, I was taken up to, by this time they brought some fire truck in or what have you. I had no idea what that had to do with my in and out of consciousness. It had nothing to do with me. So anyway, later I was taken up to the oversized office and was there for about an hour. As I left the office, I was shocked at what was said to me. Sergeant James said to me, "I want to read you your Miranda's right." And I said, "Excuse me? What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I'm going to charge you for false statement." I said, "What false statement?" He said, I told him that there was gas in the back of my car. And I said, "Yes, I did, because there's a gas device in the back of the car." And he said, "Well, the fire department told me it was not." And I said, "Well, they might have told you that, but they told me they don't have the equipment to detect whether or not. But I can tell you, because I suffer it every day when the FBI gasses me with those gases." Well, he told me, "Well, I don't want to cuff you in the back, so I'll cuff you in the front." And I said, "No, you're not going to cuff me anyway." And he grabbed my arm and put the cuff on it, put me in the back of his car, and took me back to his office. Then they had me outside in front of their office, and they start frisking me in the public eyes. Cars are on the base are running back and forth and seeing this as if I'm a criminal standing out there in front of the building. Then they took me inside, took all my stuff, my purse and everything, and put me in a holding cell for over 2 hours. Then they came and let me out and asked me if I wanted them to take me back to where my car was parked. And I said, "No, thank you, I can walk back." That was a good, long walk. But I was so frustrated and couldn't believe what was happening. First of all, they cannot arrest me for false statement whether or not I made it, because I'm civilian. It had nothing to do with their base. It had nothing to do with their job or anything to do with the military. It was my car. But the most important thing is, I never talked about the car. All I talked about was what the FBI was doing with me with that device, that deadly device in my head. And I made a statement to such. And I know now that they changed my statement, because when I called the Freedom of Information at the Air Force, the FBI blocked it 3 times. Okay. Well, what happened, I went back to my car, and they trashed my car. They went in the back of the car. They took everything out, because the device in the back of my car was covered with foil paper to block the radio frequency that they used to release the gas in the car. They tore that up apart. They tore up everything that was in my car. They went into the glove compartment. They took everything out and threw it around. And I know it was the FBI, because they're looking to destroy all the evidence I have. So they're hoping the evidence were in there, but they weren't. But they trashed my car. Okay? And that was on that day. I was upset about it, so I called the security police commander's office and asked for a meeting with him. I was told that he was going TDY and was in the process of doing so, but I should talk to a captain, which I did. He said I couldn't pronounce his name because it was a very unusual name, but he told me just to call him captain, and I did. Well, when I spoke with him, I explained to him exactly what happened, and that I did not, they had no reason to arrest me, and they dehumanized me by frisking me and tearing my clothes here and there off in front of their building, where all the traffic was running back and forth and watching me like they treated me like I'm a criminal. I did that. Well, after thinking about it, I realized it wasn't CIA I was talking to, but the FBI, because he said that he was there with Air Force One. CIA has nothing to do with Air Force One. It's Secret Service, and I know because I worked on Air Force One as a contract specialist. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I was over and done with the situation. Then on October 20th, I was leaving the Senate building, where I went down to speak to the Senate, and I came back to go on the base, and I was blocked by the security command police. They handed me a document, a memo, that had the wing commander's name, Colonel Ho, O-H, on it at the top, and on the same one-page part at the back, it had a stamp that looked like one you'd buy at Staples, and it has the wing commander, again, Colonel Ho, and a date. At first, I didn't see any signature, but basically what the memo said, that they were blocking me from the base. I couldn't re-enter the base for 3 years. And that was kind of unusual, simply because I know that each commander's tour of duty is only 2 years. So a commander would not have the authority to go into another commander's time and block me. And that was what it said. Anyway, it had given a telephone number to call if I had any questions. First of all, I tried to call the commander's office, and it was blocked. The wing commander, Colonel Ho, and it was blocked. So I called a number that was on it, but the number was not from the colonel, the wing commander's office. It was from the security police office, and I called them. And no, after I called them, and they told me, well, they had to get back with me. So what I did, I put it in writing, my response to that lie, because what they were accusing me of, they said I had called in a bomb threat on August 16, and that's why they're banning me from the base, and that the base was closed down and all this. None of that happened. Nobody. Because where I was parked when I called them, was on the commander's parking lot, just feet away from the building. And there was like 70 other cars parked there, and nobody moved, nobody was out there, nothing was closed down. So after I responded anyway and explained to them what really happened, and I kept calling, but then I kept noticing there was no signature to this thing. It was poorly written, like a 2-year-old wrote that memo. It had the letterhead of the U.S. Air Force, but there was no signature, and this stamp was not a federal government stamp, because I took the memo I received from them with my response, and I turned it over to the Senate and the Congress. They recognize it as, where does this stamp come from? It's not a government stamp. So I reached out back to the phone number that was there, and she kept making an excuse. Oh, it has to go through this, it has to go through. Well, I told her I know it's a lie, because the Senate and the Congress looked at it and they said, this doesn't look like a government stamp. And it doesn't. It looks like a cheap stamp that you just bought from Staples and just stamped the document, and there's no signature. But even with a seal, you need to get a signature from the government. That's when I started getting threats. I went into there's a base close to Andrews. It's called Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. On that 20th of October, when I was thrown out, I went to bowling at the Navy Lodge to stay, since I couldn't get back on the base, to stay in either my car or in anywhere else. And I checked in on the 20th. While I was there, the FBI showed up, of course. The second day after I was in the lodging, the FBI gassed the lodging so badly that I had to get up and I had to leave the lodging and went into my car. This was like 10 o'clock at night. I got into my car, and I went to the nearby post office, and I saw some homeless people there. I sat with them, and I talked to them for a while till about 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I noticed the FBI, 2 of the FBI regular black government car was sitting there watching me from the street. I have a photograph of that. And anyway, I left the post office and I went to the Walmart parking lot, and that's where I spent the night. I couldn't even sleep in the car because they were gassing the car, so I was like in and out of the car. And then the next morning I went to McDonald's and cleaned myself out. That's what I put up with the FBI. And then the next day, for the next couple of days, I was there, and I noticed the management was acting up. They wouldn't clean the room or anything. On the 4th of November, I was in the restroom when I heard the shower from upstairs. And then I heard a popping noise in the coming from the pipe in the small kitchenette. It's like when you do maintenance in a pipe and then you put it back again and the pressure in the pipe coming out, popping. When I got there, it was stink of gas, and this was tear gas. So I immediately got some plastic and I covered the pipe itself. I covered it up. And the next day I got some silly putty and I caulked the pipe because the smell of gas was coming out, and it was very, very bad. And it was coming out of the restroom piping system and the sinks by the restroom also. So I used that and I caulked them out. Well, and I wrote a memo, which I have here, I have a copy. I wrote it to the management. I said the FBI has been gassing. Not only that, I did get some water from that specific pipe that the gassing was coming out of, and I secured those. I got them in a couple of bottles of it. Well, when I told the manager, name is Miss Lee, about it, she started cursing at me and told me, I want you out, blah, blah, that, this, that. She started cursing me. I didn't argue, I just left. Well, when I came back, she started again. When I came back later, that's even to the lodge, she started again. And she started, she says, well, I talked to security police officer and so forth and so on. And do you want to talk to me? I said, no, I don't want to cause any problem. I just want the FBI to stop gassing my room and for you to talk to him. You're the manager. She said, I'm not going to talk to anybody, blah, blah. I talked to the security police officer already and blah, blah. So I told her, go ahead and call him. That's okay. So when he came, his name is Officer Walker. I gave him a bottle of that water, that contaminated water, and I explained to him that the reason I told her, the manager, about that gassing is because it's coming through the piping system, because I could hear them upstairs doing a lot of mechanical type work. And I said, if it's in the water system, there's other people, military people in this facility that it might hurt, and there are kids here as well. And she didn't want to talk to me, so Officer Walker went in and talked to her, and he came back out and he told me, well, you've paid up until the 7th, so she wanted me out of the 7th, and I said, fine. Well, what she did was I had paid her up to the 7th. Well, she went ahead into my bank account and she took out another $796 and another $216. And also a $324 that I had paid her, and on the day I left there and had to sleep at Walmart, she had returned the money, and then she changed her mind because I had already paid her again for it, even though I wasn't there that night. I paid her back. So in total, she took $1,296 out of my pay after I left on the 7th. She did it on the 8th. You see, so what? Officer Walker, okay, so we're after that. Then what happened after that, a couple of days later, as I was coming through the gate at Bowling, I was stopped by the commander, the security police commander. And he started to tell me that his counterpart at Joint Base Andrews had told him that I am telling people that the document that they used to block me from going to JBA was false. And I said, yes. And he told me, you continue saying that, I'm going to block you from this space as well. He started threatening me and wanted me to say, yes, yes, yes. This was by the wing commander. And I said, no, it's not by the wing commander. And he told me, get out of here. He spoke to me like I was a piece of trash and threatened me. You see, so this is the FBI controlling the military and everybody. You see, they know that that document was a fraud. It was falsified. And they told me if I try to talk to the commander, they're going to block me from both bases. So I haven't returned to either bases. You see, these are the things that's happening everywhere. No, I still haven't got my $1,296 back from the woman, and I have reached out to the Officer Walker, and I have not gotten any return call. I need to get that money back. So these are the things. And I know the FBI was behind it. You see, so I just wanted to leave this at that because I do believe that the Senate or the Congress might reach out to the Pentagon because these people are forging the wing commander's signature on a document that the wing commander probably doesn't know about. And I think it's total disrespect to the commander, and I think I know why. He's an Asian commander. He's Chinese or something. And I think just like they treat us blacks, that I think they're doing that because they wouldn't have done it to the commanders before. So this is something also I want to put to the public there. The things that the FBI will do. They will stop at nothing and they disrespect everybody as they go along. They are disrespecting that wing commander by them, and I think the security commander is a part of it because it's his staff that stopped me at the gate, the security police. So I'm sure he's aware of it. I know that the telephone number that I was told to call if I had questions, they're aware of it, and they're a part of the security police command office. So these are just some of the extremes I go through every day. And I do have a lot more to say, a whole lot more. It's been going on now for more than 20 years. And I'll leave it at that right now. And again, good evening and thanks for your patience in listening to my problems. Thank you. Good night.